The long-anticipated dungeon raid has begun for the students of Xiris Academy. Professor Glory makes sure to remind everyone to stay safe at every step. Her number one priority is the safety of her students. As they go deeper, the cave starts to get colder, so she instructs everyone to augment themselves for protection against the environment. However, this doesn't apply to Art. Even without using mana, his body remains unaffected. This is because of his assimilation with Sylvia's dragon will. Now that they have gotten deep enough to be in danger of getting attacked by monsters, the professor once again guides the class. The dungeon that they are in is a D-class dungeon called the Widow's Crypt. They will only be exploring the first 2 floors of this dungeon, so the only mana beasts that they should expect are snarlers. They are low-level beasts, but they still might be trouble for beginners. This is because they have thick fur, which makes them harder to kill. As they move further into the dungeon, the students start to notice that something is off. Snarlers are pretty easy to spot on the first floor, so it's a bit weird that they still haven't encountered any so far. Herta starts to wonder that maybe an adventurer team came in earlier and eliminated all of them. Contrary to that assumption, since Professor Glory had the Adventurers Guild restrict access to this dungeon before they came in, even she starts to get worried. She tells the students to keep their guard up. One of the students asks her about their plan if they don't encounter any beasts on the first 2 floors. She makes it clear that even if they don't find any mana beasts, they will still be heading back and reporting their findings without going any deeper. The professor's worst fear comes true as they suddenly get attacked by a horde of snarlers. She instantly orders all the students to back off and prepares to counter the incoming attack. Despite the huge number of them, they are still weak mana beasts, so it only takes 1 strike for her to kill many of them. Despite this, her worries still don't subside. Although these snarlers are not stronger than the average ones, they still shouldn't be attacking in hordes. Keeping their strange behavior in mind, she errs on the side of caution and calls an end to the excursion. Before she can tell everyone to head back, a powerful fire blast goes right past her and explodes on the snarlers behind her. As expected, it was none other than Lucas. He doesn't want to leave when things have finally started to get interesting. Despite his arrogant behavior, many of the other students hold the same opinion as him. This also includes Curtis and Art. Although she knows it's not the wisest decision, she starts to be influenced by the students' enthusiasm. After all, snarlers are only E-class beasts, and as long as she's there, everything should be fine, right? Hence, she agrees to let them fight. She orders everyone to split into their teams and take different parts of the floor. Following her orders, the students quickly rush to take their positions. However, before Lucas can leave, she makes it clear to him that if he pulls the same stunt again, there will be severe consequences. He gives her a quick nod and leaves to join the rest of the team. Being the team leader, Tessia begins to assign everyone their roles. She puts Art as the vanguard, since he's best at close-range combat. Next, she orders the other 2 members of the team, Clive and Roland, to take supportive positions behind Art. Lastly, she orders Lucas to stay in the middle. Once more, Lucas's pride prevents him from accepting instructions from anyone else. He instead heads off to do his own thing. The team doesn't have time to worry about his antics, since the snarlers have already begun attacking. Roland pulls out an artifact, but before he can use it, they're already under attack. Thankfully, Art is not as distracted as the rest of the team. The entire horde finally arrives. Due to their excellent team chemistry, they are able to work together to fend them off. Professor Glory is relieved to see that her students are doing well, but she still can't shake off the feeling that something bad is about to happen. The students are not used to prolonged battles. On top of that, the number of snarlers doesn't seem to be decreasing. Keeping this in mind, she orders all the team leaders to slowly start backing off. Everyone follows her orders and starts running back. However, Roland finds himself in big trouble when he falls down while a big horde of snarlers are right on their tail. As always, Art can't allow himself to leave a comrade behind. He decides to use a single powerful strike to blow all the snarlers away. This way he can rescue Roland while making sure that he remains uninjured in the process. Using his sword, Art launches a powerful wind strike which blows all the mana beasts away. However, it comes at a cost. The powerful strike dislocates his shoulder, leaving one of his arms useless in the battle. On top of this, the situation gets even worse. A new horde of snarlers appears, but this time they have wings. These 2 new mana beasts are called Queen Snarlers. They are B-class mana beasts, much stronger than the regular snarlers. However, they are not supposed to leave the bottom floor, which makes the professor curious about their intent for being here. They instantly attack the students without giving them much time to think. The only one who can protect them now is Professor Glory. She takes out both of her weapons and prepares to counter the incoming attack. Their sudden appearance is not the only unusual thing about this situation. These two mana beasts are also much stronger than the regular queen snarlers. The professor has to give it her all just to hold them back. She quickly orders the students to get out of the dungeon as soon as possible. Art instantly leaps into action to clear the exit, so everyone can escape. The emergence of queen snarlers created a hole in the ground and also blocked the exit. To escape the dungeon, everyone will have to clear the chasm and get through the blockage. Art gets an idea of how to accomplish this when he witnesses one of his classmates fighting with her earth magic. Her name is Delphine. Art tells her to come with him, while the rest of the squad volunteers to provide cover for them. When they get to the chasm, Art tells her to patch the hole using her earth magic, while he protects her from the constant attacks by the snarlers. Her proficiency in earth magic allows her to complete this task fairly quickly. Now all that's left is to clear the rubble, so everyone can escape. Despite his injured shoulder, Art tries to clear the blockage with a powerful punch. As expected, it doesn't work. The situation only gets worse as he notices that the entire dungeon is being filled with smoke. Because of this, everyone has trouble breathing. Art realizes that this is because of the constant fire magic being used. Since the snarlers' corpses are blocking the only airway, the smoke has nowhere to go. He tells everyone, including Claire and Curtis, to stop using fire magic. This is only a temporary measure, though. They need to clear the blockage, otherwise they're going to suffocate to death. Art comes to the conclusion that they should use a big blast to clear the wall at once. There is no use in being careful if they cannot even breathe. He suddenly has an epiphany when he remembers Curtis using his beast will against Tessia. The same attack that he used against her can also clear the wall. He calls Curtis over and asks him if his World Howl spell is enough to clear the blockage. Curtis informs him that although it would be enough, he cannot gather enough mana without Grotter. However, Art has a solution to this. He tells Curtis to turn around and focus on going into his first phase. Art is going to attempt to do something that hasn't been done in decades. Mana transference has been studied for years, but it was declared a lost cause. Even if someone specialized in the same element as another mage, the mana inside their body is not exclusive to that particular element. However, since Art can use all four elements, theoretically he should be able to control the ratio between each element. It's still a huge risk since he has not mastered it fully, and has never even tried it before. As he tries to do this, Art becomes aware of his own carelessness. He was so confident about going into the dungeon that he didn't consider the possibility of anything going wrong. His overconfidence led him to believe that even if something did go wrong, he would be able to handle it and protect everyone. He realizes that if he wants to reach the white core stage, it will take much more time and effort. Meanwhile, his plan works as Curtis is successfully able to reach the first phase of his beast will. He unleashes the powerful attack, which clears the pathway for everyone. Professor Glory, on the other hand, is still fighting the two queen snarlers. Despite using her deviant glass magic, she's still being pushed back. More bad luck strikes as everyone quickly rushes to exit the dungeon. Tessia's mana core flares up again, and she's unable to walk due to the pain. While Art helps her to the exit, another thought enters his mind. Normally a nest only has one queen, so why are there two queen snarlers attacking them? It seems that his bad luck has no end today. Another snarler appears from the ground. This one is much bigger and stronger than all the monsters they have faced so far. It has multiple wings and is surrounded by a dark aura. It would seem that the real queen snarler has finally made its appearance. The power of this one is quite evident. With a single swipe from its claws, it nearly takes Professor Glory's eye out. It turns its attention towards the students and tries to attack them. However, the professor is not about to let that happen. She uses her glass magic to distract it and make sure that its attention is on her. Art is aware that this creature is far too powerful for Professor Glory to manage by herself. It's only a matter of time before she loses. Claire tells him to escape with them and let the professor deal with the monster. However, as we have seen before, Art is not the one to leave an ally behind no matter what. Both Claire and Curtis tried to stop him, but he has already made up his mind. Realizing that there is no other option, he finally unleashes his fire magic. Both of them are left stunned upon witnessing this. Art arrives just in time to rescue Professor Glory. He attacks the monster head-on with his fire magic. The professor has a similar reaction upon witnessing Art's fire magic. Despite his powerful attack, the monster is undeterred. They keep attacking the duo aggressively. Upon making sure that all the students have escaped the dungeon, both of them decide to unleash their most powerful magic. Defeating it is out of the question, so all they can hope to do is weaken it enough so they can escape as well. However, this is going to be much harder than they realize. Art tells Professor Glory to keep it busy for 10 seconds while he prepares an attack. Following his instructions, she attacks the beast with all her might. Art, on the other hand, prepares a powerful attack with his most potent element, lightning. He gathers all his energy into his sword and unleashes a powerful slash. This attack is called Burst Blade Storm. He manages to land it successfully, and for the first time, they are able to do some real damage to the beast. However, the backlash from this attack dislocates another bone in his right arm. Angered by Art's attack, the beast attacks him with his claw. The professor manages to get him away just in time. His blade is left in the beast's stomach. The two of them quickly try to make their way out of the dungeon. Just as they are about to escape, the beast appears once again. It attacks them with its claws and manages to stab Art in the leg. Before she can come to his rescue, the beast unleashes a powerful magical attack. Because of this, the ground beneath them gives way, leaving Art to fall into the hole along with the monster. All that the professor can do is watch as Art falls into the chasm. He tries to quickly use his wind magic, but as luck would have it, Art is hit in the head by the falling rubble and is knocked unconscious. When he wakes up, he is still falling. He quickly uses his wind magic to propel himself to the wall. He tries to grab onto it, but the speed at which he is falling is too great. Furthermore, he realizes that all he can do is try to survive the fall. He once again uses the same spell to push himself towards the wall. This way he can try to slow himself down. With his remaining mana, he uses a spell called Wind Torrent just as he is about to hit the ground. Because of this, Art is able to slow himself down just enough to survive. Even so, the fall still causes him severe injuries. He is unable to breathe, let alone walk. Even in death, Sylvia once again comes to his rescue. The regenerative abilities that he gained from her beast will start healing him. After a few minutes of lying down, Art is finally able to get up. He quickly goes over to the monster's corpse and retrieves his blade. Now he has to figure out how to get out. Even at full strength, it would be difficult to climb all the way back up, so his only option is to find a different path. After a long series of bad luck, he is finally able to catch a break. He hears running water and quickly looks around to investigate. After a few minutes of looking around, he finds an exit from the cave. As he walks towards it, the sound of running water gets louder and louder. When he finally reaches the sound, he finds a running waterfall. It would seem that there is a larger cave behind it. When he makes his way to the other side, he is left horrified upon witnessing the gnarly scene. There are many mages lying dead on the ground, having been impaled with spikes. Art hears a faint cough and quickly takes out his blade. It seems there's one mage alive within the carnage. This voice calls for help. He quickly gets down and starts looking for this person. He's barely able to hold himself together upon witnessing the gruesome way these mages were killed. He continues to follow the voice and finally arrives at the source. Art is left shocked to his core upon learning the identity of this person. It's none other than Lancelia. She is not only a white core mage, she's also a lance. Even so, her injuries are more severe compared to all the other mages here. He cannot even find the energy to stand and is forced to get on his knees. She is missing her right arm and both of her legs. Both of her eyes were clawed out. Not only this, but there is also a spike impaling her abdomen. He quickly uses his magic to try and heal her. Without her eyes, she's unable to tell who this person is. Art informs her that he is the boy she met at Osiris Academy. The boy who reminded her of her little brother. She is finally able to recognize Art as the boy who was spying on Lance Baron. Before he can continue healing her, she grabs his hand with the little energy she has left and stops him. This is because she knows as well as Art that she is beyond saving. Unable to do anything, all he can do is apologize. She tells him that he has nothing to apologize for. In fact, him being here has made her feel much better, and she thanks him for that reason. Art asks her if there's anything he can do for her. Sadly, he can't do anything but stay by her side in her last moments. In his frustration, he asks her who did this to her and how did this happen. Her reply sends chills down his spine. It is revealed that she is alive this long because the person who did this was trying to get revenge. This was his way of torturing her for laying a hand on him. She hands him a purple shard which is surrounded by a dark aura. Aaliyah reveals that even with her shattered core, she can show Art what happened because of the mana he imbued into her earlier. She grabs his head and places his forehead right next to her own. Suddenly, Art is able to see everything that happened from her perspective. After the backup arrived, Aaliyah, along with the 50 mages, attacked the Hades serpent. They were able to defeat it easily without any casualties. However, it's what happened next that resulted in the carnage that Art witnessed. A new enemy appeared and instantly killed most of the battle mages. He tells them about a war brewing. Even calling him a mage would be a stretch. Its devilish appearance made it seem like a monster from your worst nightmares. His power was on a whole different level. He gave Aaliyah two options. Either she can fight and die, or she can double-cross her teammates and kill every last one of them. If she chooses the second option, he will allow her to live. However, without a second thought, she orders all the remaining men to attack him at once. Same as before, all of them are instantly killed. While he's busy killing the rest of her men, Aaliyah is able to find an opening and lands a hit on him with her plant magic. This only proceeds to piss him off. He was going to give her a quick death, but now he promises to make her suffer. With one attack, he completely rips her arm off and sends her flying towards the wall. Next, he impales her with his deviant magic. To torture her even more, he rips both of her legs off. But he wasn't done yet. He wanted to make the rest of her senses even stronger, so she could hear the screams of her allies. To do this, he decides to claw her eyes out. Even the battle-hardened Art is unable to bear this any longer, and he ends up vomiting. Aaliyah apologizes for making him witness something like this. However, he tells her that this needs to be passed on, so everyone can know what truly happened down here. He thanks her for her service. Even a professional soldier like Lance Aaliyah finally breaks down. She starts sobbing uncontrollably like a baby and tells him that she doesn't want to die. Art can do nothing to ease her pain. All he can do is cry with her. He hugs her to provide her with some comfort in her last moments. As the last bit of energy leaves her body, it finally happens. She passes away from her injuries. One can call this a big mercy, as she is finally relieved of all her suffering. Just before passing away, she recalls a happy memory of spending time with her brother. Art decides to bury her body, as well as the bodies of all the 50 battle mages. He told himself that her death wasn't in vain, but even I'm not sure if he truly believes that. One by one, he buries all the bodies using his earth magic. Through Aaliyah's memories, he was able to find out that there was more than one Blackhorn demon. Although uncertain about their exact numbers, they are definitely after something. These demons are the same ones he encountered all those years back in Sylvia's cave. Irrespective of whether they want Sylvie or Decathlon as a whole, it doesn't alter what Art has to do. Despite being a quadra-elemental mage, he knows that he doesn't stand a chance against them as of right now. If what the demon said about the war was true, then he can't afford to become complacent. To protect his loved ones in this world, he must strive to become stronger. After he's done burying the bodies of the battle mages, Art uses his ice magic to encase Aaliyah's body in a pillar of ice. He promises her that she won't be alone for long. He tells her that he will make sure to send people to come back for her. Not just for her, but for all the soldiers who died down here. Sylvie finally arrives in her dragon form to get him out of the dungeon. She makes sure not to interrupt him while he's grieving. He thanks her for waiting for him, and they both leave the dungeon. Art rides on her back, and the two of them arrive at the gate of Ixaris City. They are stopped by the guards who demand some sort of identification. Art informs them that he's one of the students that went on the class trip to Widow's Crypt. The guard immediately orders another soldier to notify the Adventurers Guild as well as the Ixaris Academy of his return. This is because the guild was putting together a search and rescue for him. The guard also offers to get an emitter so they can heal his wounds. However, Art refuses this offer and respectfully tells the soldier that he just wants to go home. Being the soldier himself, he understands the need to see his family, so he agrees. After a long carriage ride, Art finally arrives home at nighttime. It's a stunning night as the aurora lights are shining brightly in the sky. Perhaps he would have been able to enjoy it if he hadn't gone through everything that he just did. He stops himself just before entering the house. He hesitates to go in as he knows that everyone is very worried about him. But if he goes in, they will ask him what happened. This is something he just doesn't want to deal with right now. Art sits down on the stairs with Aaliyah's dying words still lingering in his mind. He takes out her necklace while thinking about her. He hopes that she will get another chance at life, the same as he did. His alone time is interrupted by Ray. It seems that his father can relate to how he is feeling, more than Art gave him credit for. Before he can start apologizing for not coming in, Ray stops him and tells him that he doesn't need to say anything. He informs Art that Alice's healing magic can only heal minor wounds. Even though Art hadn't realized, she has her own scars that she hides from everyone. Ray once again reassures his son that he doesn't have to force himself. He understands that everyone has their own battles that they need to fight. He'll always be there for him, waiting for him to come out victorious. Life isn't a single battle. Experiencing defeat at times is all right. The only thing that he can do is learn from it and get stronger, so he can win the war. Hearing these heartfelt words, Art can't help but weep uncontrollably. The next day, he goes back to Osiris Academy to have a meeting with Cynthia. They meet on the balcony so they can enjoy the fresh air while engaging in their conversation. She informs Art that she has already heard everything about their class trip from Professor Glory. She asks him if he has any plans about what to do next. For now, his only plan is to go shopping with his mother and sister. After everything he's been through, he has realized that he should cherish every moment with the people he loves. Cynthia asks him what happened after he fell down the chasm. She already knows about the anomaly with the queen snarlers, but she wants to know if he knows anything more. Without saying a word, Art hands her Aaliyah's necklace. Cynthia is left horrified as she knows that this could only mean one thing. She still confirms it, just to be sure. He informs her that Aaliyah and her team's bodies are still on the bottom floor of the widow's crypt. Cynthia realizes that if one of the lances has died, then it means that they're already here. She tries to gather as much information as possible and inquires Art if he saw what caused this. For some reason, he decides to keep silent about everything, and conveys to her that he didn't witness anything. Cynthia instantly leaves to inform the council about this. Before leaving, she tells him not to get himself involved in all of this and warns him that this matter is beyond him. Art goes on his planned shopping trip with Alice, Tabitha, and Ellie. He tries to enjoy the family time, but there's still some lingering trauma from everything he has experienced. As always, it doesn't take long for Alice to realize that there is something wrong. However, she can't bring herself to talk to him about it. They enter a clothing store and Ellie instantly starts looking for clothes for Art. Although he is not in the mood, he still tries to be nice and goes along with it. Trying to excuse himself, he asks Tabitha if there are any stores around here that sells training material. She lets him know that there's a quite famous store located right around the corner. He can buy all sorts of elixirs and medicine from there. Alice tries to offer to go with him, but Art leaves before she has a chance to do so. Despite his best efforts to move on, he keeps remembering those horrible events. After walking for a while, he finally arrives at the store. It seems Tabitha's description was a little off. This store is a run-down old shack that looks like it houses all the diseases and poisons in the world. Still, he decides to check it out since he has already come this far. On his way to enter the store, Art gets startled by a voice. He is shocked to see that it's an old man. It's surprising that Art wasn't able to sense him at all. He seems to be a homeless man and asks Art if he can spare some change. As soon as the boy reaches his hand out to give him a coin, the man instantly snatches it from his hand. Art realizes his mistake when he sees that he accidentally gave the old man a silver coin. He tries to politely ask to get it back, but the old man has already disappeared. Disappointed at being conned, he tries to forget about it and heads toward the store. Upon entering, he is surprised to see that the owner is the same old man that he just gave money to. He gets angry and demands to get his coin back. The man defends himself by telling Art that it was his fault for judging him based on his appearance. The man still offers to make up for it and offers to let him take any one item from his shop as compensation. However, from the condition of this store, it's hard to believe that there will be anything here worth a silver coin. He still tries to control his anger and tells himself that he must respect the elderly. Art walks around the store hoping to find something worth his money. He fails to find anything but dust and spiderwebs. While continuing his search, he comes across a strange-looking black cat. He ignores it and keeps up the search. However, all he manages to find is a ring that squirts water, a skeleton in a chest, some old worn-out books, and a lot of dust. He is somewhat relieved when Sylvie finally finds him. Even though she is angry at him for leaving her behind at the clothing store, he is still happy to see her. The elderly is shocked upon seeing Sylvie. Could it be that he has realized her true nature? Perhaps there is more to him than meets the eye. He apologizes to Art for his weird behavior. Nevertheless, Art conveys to him that he didn't discover anything of value in his store, so he asks for his coin back. The man feels a bit insulted, so he decides to pick something for Art himself. He pulls out a strange-looking marble from a dusty corner and throws it to Art. Before he can even inquire about what it is, the man kicks him out of the store. The only thing he tells him is that he will need it. Upon leaving the store, he once again runs into the same strange-looking cat. He once again ignores it and goes back to his family. Alice asks him if he found what he was looking for. The disappointed look on his face is enough to tell them everything they want to know. Tabitha is surprised at the fact that Art couldn't find anything from their variety of elixirs and medicine. He is shocked to hear her say that as there is no way there was anything of value in that shabby place. Tabitha decides to take him there herself. Things start to make more sense when he sees the store himself. This store is a well-maintained, high-class building. From this, it's obvious that he took a wrong turn while he was lost in thought. A little way outside Cyrus Academy, Lucas finds himself in a cave with Charles. He seems to be taking him to a secret location to meet someone. Upon entering a door at the end of the tunnel, Lucas finds himself surrounded by mages covered in black hoods. It looks like a cult. Their leader welcomes him to their meeting. The leader is a weird-looking man having orange hair and wearing a creepy white mask. He expresses his appreciation that Lucas has decided to join their little crusade. Lucas, however, is not one to be swayed so easily. He tells them that he was expecting something a little more impressive. One of the members gets furious and shouts at him that he should be grateful that they are letting a mutt like him to join them. He gets angry upon being insulted. However, the leader stopped the fight before it gets worse. He uses a powerful spell to burn the member alive. Despite the constant begging, the leader doesn't stop until the man finally dies. Even Lucas is taken back, although he admits that he would have done the same. However, his inability to sense the leader's mana indicates an extraordinary level of strength. Lucas decides to inquire more about this group before he agrees to join. He asks the leader many questions. What are they trying to accomplish? Why do they need him? And are they the ones who have been drugging the students at the academy? The leader replies by telling him that he has big plans for this academy. However, certain circumstances prevent him from acting right now, so he needs capable mages to execute his plans while he waits, and Lucas happens to be one of them. He explains that everyone in this group is a dissatisfied human noble who once took pride that Ixaris was built for the purest of lineages. He questions Lucas if he is also not upset by what is happening. Lucas informs him that he doesn't waste his time in dealing with pests that he can crush at any time. To him, all the students at the Ixaris Academy are no better than low-class adventurers flailing around with their weapons. He also doesn't give a crap about those pampered nobles. He tells the leader that he has no reason to lower himself to their level and begins to leave. However, the leader isn't done with him yet. He decides to strike at Lucas's weak spot. He raises the subject of how Art managed to defeat him. Even though he claims to despise weak mages, he becomes absolutely furious upon hearing this. It seems like he's ready to attack the leader. He even sarcastically mentions that all of Lucas's strength is because of the elixirs that he was given after his awakening. Lucas's rage continues to increase. The leader even reveals that the saddest thing about his defeat was that Art wasn't even trying. This is a truth that Lucas himself is fully aware of. Despite his anger, he can't deny what he is hearing. This is because he witnessed it with his own eyes when Art unleashed his fire magic against the monster in the widow's crypt. Lucas questions who the hell is he, and how does he know all this? The man gets up and bows down like a proper noble. He tells Lucas that he is only a mere benefactor who came here for the betterment of this land. He once again implores him to join them and tells him that it would be of mutual benefit. This time Lucas is intrigued. He explains that he will soon strike, and when he does, the frail bond between the three races will shatter. At the moment he has both the council and Cynthia occupied, so the stage is set for Lucas. He wants Lucas to take care of the loose ends, which means Arthur Lewin. Lucas has finally come to accept that he's not as strong as Art, so he knows he won't be able to kill him on his own, and he doesn't want to take the same drug that was given to Marcois. The leader reassures him by telling him that Marcois was weak. For someone as strong as Lucas, it shouldn't be a problem to control the power. And the power that he will get will be on a completely different level. From their conversation, Lucas is able to deduce that the leader must have some sort of plan to get Art to fight him at full strength. And he's not wrong. The leader knows that Arthur places great importance on his friends and family, but he has one particular person in mind. It's none other than Tessia. He questions everyone whether it's okay that an elf is the leader of the students at the Ixaris Academy. The entire room becomes filled with angry shouts agreeing with him. Lucas also gets very excited and agrees to go along with the plan. Elsewhere at the student dorm, Elijah is sitting alone in his room. He gets up after hearing a knock at the door. He is pleasantly surprised to see that it is Art. He quickly rushes out and hugs him. After settling down, he reveals that he was informed by Cynthia that Art was okay, but after hearing Claire's recount, it was hard to believe. Art asks him if everyone is fine. Claire and Curtis are fine and checked out of the infirmary just this morning. However, for some reason, Elijah hesitates to talk about Tessia. He tells Art that she is with Varian right now in one of the training rooms. He also suggests that Art should visit everyone so they can see for themselves that he is fine. But he doesn't want to deal with everyone's questions right now, so he instead requests Elijah to let everyone know in the morning. He agrees to do it. After saying goodbye to Elijah, Art leaves to visit Tessia. He finds it strange that Varian is here since he wouldn't miss a council meeting unless it was something important. His thoughts are interrupted as Sylvie informs him that she is sensing strange mana coming from Tessia. He quickly runs to the room. As soon as he opens the door, he hears a loud boom, followed by smoke. When the smoke clears up, Art is shocked by what he sees. It's Varian sitting behind Tessia while she is completely covered in vines. Art quickly goes over to Varian to ask him about what's going on. Varian informs him that she has been like this ever since she returned from the dungeon. It seems that her beast will is flaring up again and causing problems with her assimilation. He comes to the conclusion that the Elderwood Guardian that Art fought must have been different in some way. Even after assimilating with Tessia for so long, there's still a lingering sense of unease. It's like the beast will is mutating the fight against Tessia. Art comes to the realization that he might be at fault as he was the one who provided her with the beast core. As soon as he touches the vine, his ring starts to glow brightly. The vine suddenly starts attacking him, but he manages to dodge it just in time. If it wasn't for his quick reflexes, he could have died. The vines continue to attack him for some reason, and Art continues dodging them. The attacks continued to become more and more intense. He tries to stay close to Varian while at the same time, he's careful not to hurt Tessia. The source of the bright light is finally revealed. It's the marble that Art got from that old man at the store. It gets away from his hand and starts flying on its own. It flies straight toward the center of the vines, indicating that it's heading for Tessia. Suddenly, all the vines are blown away in a huge blast. The marble gets absorbed into Tessia's body. As soon as this happens, all the vines disappear and she starts going back to normal. Art quickly catches her unconscious body and wraps her in a piece of cloth. Varian also rushes over to examine her. He thanks Art for saving his granddaughter once again. After a few minutes passed, Tessia finally regains consciousness. She quickly starts running over to the two of them for a hug. Unfortunately, this hug is not for Varian. Tessia is glad to see that Art is alive. Varian and Art take her to the infirmary for checkup. Art is still confused about everything that happened. Why did that mysterious orb fly into Tessia? It seemed to have calmed her down, but the question still remains, what did it actually do to her? Art decides that he will have to go to the shop again to do some investigating. The doctor finally comes back with the results after the checkup. To their delight, he reveals that her vitals are stable and the mana circulation throughout her body isn't impeded. However, there is one thing that doesn't make sense. Tessia is supposed to be at the light orange stage, while the doctor is at the dark yellow core stage, so he should be able to sense her mana. However, that's not the case. Varian becomes completely shocked at what he is hearing and goes over to Tessia to check for himself. He is left completely dumbfounded after checking her mana core. It has jumped all the way up to the initial silver stage. This means that she is at the same stage as Varian. The two of them leave the infirmary to discuss this further. Art wonders if they should leave her alone, but Varian assures him that she is just exhausted and she will be fine. After breaking through 3 stages all at once, her body needs rest. With that out of the way, Art asks him something that has been on his mind for a while. He wants to know more about the lances. He wants to know how strong they actually are. It takes about 20 yellow core mages to hold off a single silver core mage. This makes Art wonder how exponential the increase in power is from silver to white core. He further asks about how a white core mage gets as strong as they are. Some of the lances are so young, so how did they get so strong in such little time? This even raises the question of what is stopping them from taking over the kingdom with their amazing strength. Varian discloses that the lances attained their current level of strength only after receiving knighthood. This also has to do with how the royal families have stayed in power for so long. Before continuing, Varian makes it clear that what he is about to reveal to him is something only the royal families know. This is a highly guarded secret, so no one can know about it. During the Beast Era, the time when no one knew how to use magic, the 3 races lived nomadic lives. They traveled with their own kind and only met the other races for the purpose of trade. They had differences in culture and beliefs, but they were still on good terms. There was peace, but it didn't last long. This was because of the man-at beasts that roamed free and hunted the 3 races for food. Over the years, the population of each race started to dwindle, until one day a miracle happened. A deity descended from the sky and gifted the people with tools to defend themselves. This deity appeared before three people who were the forefathers of what are now the three royal families, the Glader, the Grey Sunders, and the Aerolith families. They were bestowed with 6 artifacts. These artifacts were to be shared among the 3 of them, so they could become kings of their race. However, the artifacts weren't meant to be used by the kings themselves. Instead, they were supposed to be passed down to the 2 most powerful subjects under each king. These 2 individuals became the first lances. These artifacts gave them the power to use the energy that existed in their surroundings that came to be known as mana. The 3 kings then commanded the 6 artifact users to spread their newfound knowledge among the people, giving rise to the first generation of magic users. The 3 races then rallied together to fight against the mana beasts and managed to push them deep into the trenches of what is now known as the Beast Glades. Thus, a time of true peace finally descended upon the land, ending the era of beasts and marking the beginning of a new era. The 3 races diverged peacefully and naturally. They each sought a place to call home, a place that would best fit their lifestyle and culture. The human king led his subjects to the west, where the lands were flat and rich in soil. The elven king took his people to the north, towards the forest. Here they could live peacefully with the magical forest and the living beings that inhabited it. Finally, there was the dwarven king. He took his subjects to the south, where the earth was abundant in ores of metals and precious gems. With the 3 kings and the lances watching over their people, they lived in times of peace and prosperity. However, there is something amiss with the story according to Art. What about the war that took place between the humans and the elves, and where did the lances go? Varian angrily pinches Art's cheek as he tells him that he was about to get to that part when Art interrupted him. After a few generations of peace, the people started forgetting about the alliance that their ancestors shared, and as it always does, their greed started taking over. As for the lances, they never went away. They existed in each generation and were nurtured closely to the royal families. They were secretly raised to wield the artifacts. It was only because of the discovery of the new continent that the 3 royal families decided to unify and made the lances known to the public. It finally starts to make sense why this was all a secret. Even if the lances are soul-bound to their kings, if the word got out that there are artifacts capable of producing white core mages, one can only imagine the catastrophe that would befall Decathan. They wouldn't have to worry about the other continent, as Decathan would fall from within, long before others could attack. Art thanks Varian for trusting him with this knowledge. Varian reveals that the reason he told him was because he plays a part in all of this as well. Art's bond is no mere mana beast. Sylvie is a deity. Art just can't bring himself to believe that the small fox-like monster sleeping with a drooling face and a bubble popping up from her nose is an actual god. Varian explains that deities aren't how religious books make them out to be. Simply put, they are beings that have successfully transcended from their mortal bodies and have become one with mana. He believes that it was no mere coincidence that Art bonded with Sylvie. Although there is no telling what part Art has to play in all this, Varian still tells him to be ready. After his conversation with Varian, Art decides to head back to the elixir store to meet the old man. Upon arriving, he is surprised to see that the entire store has disappeared. Where a store once stood, there now lies a mere dead end. He walks over to investigate. To his surprise, he finds a similar-looking marble to the one he got earlier. It is placed in the small gap between the 2 walls with a note tapped onto it. After reading the note, he makes his way back to his house. That morning, while having breakfast with his family, Alice notices that Art seems distracted. By now, she knows her son well enough to realize that there is something on his mind that he feels compelled to accomplish. She also realizes that this would require him to go away for a while. Before he can even start speaking, she tells him that all they want is for him to come home safely. Art thanks his family for their love and understanding. He heads out of the house with the note in his hand. We finally find out what the note says. The note tells him that if he wants to know the whole story, then he must come to the West Teleportation Gate at noon. Art gets a flashback from his previous life. It is a memory from the time when the council was putting pressure on him to kill a girl as a punishment, even though King Grey wanted to spare her. Thankfully for Art, it was just a nightmare. He wakes up from his nap while on his way to the West Teleportation Gate. Sylvie becomes concerned, but Art assures her that he is fine. However, he can't help but wonder why this memory came up at a time like this. There is a bigger question that needs to be answered: the identity of the note's sender. If it's from the old man, then one has to wonder how he heard the conversation between Virion and Art. This note claims to know something that even Virion doesn't know. Does this mean that Virion purposefully left something out? Art trusts him enough to believe that he must have told him everything he knows. But then who could it be? Hopefully, all these inquiries will be resolved as Art finally arrives at the gate. The elven guard asks for verification. However, Art didn't know something like that was required. The guard further clarifies that this is the teleportation gate to Eleanor, and to enter one has to present some verification. Art wonders why the note is asking him to go to Eleanor. He presents the compass that he got from Virion all those years ago. The guard is surprised to see this seemingly insignificant child carrying the seal of the royal family. He quickly bows down to him and lets him pass. Upon entering the gate, he instantly feels something weird. Instead of being teleported, he is grabbed with colorful strands of mana. He is brought to a black void of nothingness. Sylvie starts to get scared. This is the first time in her life that she has expressed fear. This is enough indication that the person is something extremely powerful. Art suddenly senses a strong presence nearby. The power is so great that he cannot even get himself to stand. The person finally reveals himself. It is the same cat that he met at the elixir store. However, that was just a camouflage. The area suddenly gets lit up. Now Art is able to see clearly as the cat transforms into a man wearing a black suit. He introduces himself as Wisdom. To the lower life forms, such as Art, he would be known as a deity. Back in Exire City, Cynthia is on a mission after her meeting with the council. The meeting became quite heated after everyone found out that one of the lances died. The Dwarven Queen demands that the student who found Aaliyah's body should be presented in front of them so that he can be interrogated. The Human Queen asserts that there is no need for that since Cynthia has already confirmed all the facts. The council decides to send their best tracking mages to see if they can find any traces that the enemy may have left behind. The Elven King asks Cynthia to join them in this mission. However, she politely refuses with the excuse that she has other matters to attend to. In the present, Avier begins to wonder why Cynthia is so distracted. She is thinking about whether she did the right thing when she hid the fact that it was Arthur who found Aaliyah's body. Avier assures her that she did the right thing. Art is a mystery to them as it is, and they don't want the council to needlessly become suspicious of him. While they are discussing this, Cynthia suddenly finds herself under attack by a group of mages. She gets hit in the back with a lightning attack. These mages all have the same markings on their backs as Marcoes. They attack her with everything they have, however, they are unable to match her strength. She quickly takes all of them out with her sound magic. She keeps one of them alive to interrogate him. She promises to give him a quick death if he reveals what he knows. However, this mage is undeterred and instead accuses her of being a traitor. He reveals that they are slowly regaining their former strength. They have spies in every corner of this continent, and in a few short years, the war will begin. Before he can continue, she ends his life. Avier's true form is revealed as a giant dinosaur-like creature. He helps Cynthia clean up the mess by feeding on the dead mages. Before continuing on with the mission, she uses a healing potion for the injury on her back. The attack torn some of her clothes, and it's revealed that she has the same marking